As a gentle hello and reminder, I am Brywin. I am our CMO over at SCC. Joining me today is Parker, our CEO. Jordan is away and traveling with his family, which is a lovely thing for him to do. So we are going to be your leaders on this call today. Not seeing anybody in the chat right yet, but Parker is going to be jumping in, answering questions and things of that nature, and he'll chime off throughout this presentation. Hi, Heifa, very nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. So please, anytime you have a question throughout this, if you are joining us through Luma, Riverside, etc., please put it in the chat. We will have a Q&A period at the end of this, but please, anytime, jump in. And yeah, Parker, where is everybody based out of? Love knowing where everyone is from. I myself am in Nova Scotia, Canada, and Parker is complete opposite from me on the West Coast in BC.
Yeah, no, it's I love so we got some San Diego, California, San Fran, Miami, all popping in. Bora from San Fran. I wonder if that's the Bora we know. But yeah, it is
Yes,
of
it
course.
is.
Bora, what's up, buddy? But yeah, no, I'm really excited to jump into this topic. And Brian's presented like some amazing resources, but yeah, I'll chime in as I see fit.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll kick it off. So this is actually, I would say, our number one requested topic to cover. This is the topic that we get questions from, regardless of what we're covering that day. It is always the number one thing in the chat is how to incentivize creators. So I am going to share my screen. And hopefully it will let me here. Perfect. Awesome. So what we're going to be covering today is actually a two-parter to give you guys as much value as possible. The first one is going to be talking about how to incentivize your TikTok Shop creators and making sure that you're engineering the behavior that's going to drive your GMV, your volume, and the velocity that is needed for the channel. So we're going to cover that first, and then that's going to tie into how you're actually going to then use that TikTok Shop content on other platforms and ultimately incentivize creators to allow you to do that. So it's a win-win scenario. So I'm just going to warn you right now, this is the topic that I get the most animated and enthusiastic about. This is honestly, I think, the funnest part of TikTok Shop outside of the sales it generates. This is where it gets very exciting. And honestly, this is the piece that is make or break for a lot of brands. Our jobs, your job as the brand is to sell to creators. You guys have heard us say that before. You'll hear us say it a million more times, but you're selling to the creators. Creators, they sell to the consumers. It's getting them engaged, excited, and wanting to work with your brand. So without further ado, let's dive into it. And Parker, anytime, feel free to jump in, add some color context, some commentary.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
So why this matters. It matters for enterprise clients. It matters for mid-sized clients. It matters to cold start clients and brands. So this is very, very important. The problem right now is with creators, and a lot of you are probably seeing this, is they have this gig mindset. I mean, if you want to think about like bands in the 90s, booking gigs, it feels very similar to that. There isn't a clear structure. The creator output is going to be erratic. You're going to have those, we call it affectionately the last day dumps, or where creators realize, oh, I have to post. Okay, let me just post anything that I can make in the last 5 minutes here, which is going to result in low volume, low quality, and unpredictable outcomes. So this is going to be unpredictable as far as the amount of content that you're planning to have produced, especially if you're planning your own blitz or a moment, a launch, etc. And that's going to lead to unpredictable sales. So that is the number one problem here. The solution is this more fleet mindset. So you want to have a structured incentive stack that transforms creators from just independent gig workers operating by themselves in their own silos and turn them into a competitive sales fleet. Again, they're functionally your sales team on this platform. So we want to make sure that they are, sorry, I'm losing my thing here. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Perfect. So what we want to change this is we're not just paying for post, we're gamifying the system. We're making this fun and, keyword of the day, incentivizing for creators to participate. And Parker, I'll just get you to jump in with any questions that are coming through as people ask, if it's related to the topic. We'll save everything else till the end.
Yeah, you're good. There's a couple coming in, but I think we'll save it for the end. So no worries. Keep going.
Perfect. So what we have here is the way that we approach incentive structures. We want to have 4 different layers here. So your top layer is going to be the GMV leaderboard. So these intended purpose here is driving sales. So your top 3 to 5 earners are going to get fixed payouts. And we'll get into the breakdown a little bit more of how much you should be like investing into creator incentives and what that can look like. But these are going to be the fixed payouts for the people that are driving the top amount of sales. So if you have a creator that's generating, $5,000 of GMV for you, $50,000, $100,000, you're going to incentivize them a little bit differently than the people that are more middle of the pack that you're incentivizing for volume. So we'll get into that a little bit more here, which is the second tier, that volume completion. So we know the algorithm rewards volume as well as variety. So we really need to have that baked in. So the volume completion layer is going to be driving the consistency. So an example of this is if you post, 10 posts, whatever that number is, magic for your brand, you're going to get a flat bonus. So you're going to have a percentage of your creator incentive fund going to this, and this is what's going to incentivize that volume of posts. This is what's going to feed that GMV max campaign that the success really, really rides on. Next down on the layers here, the fast movers. This is about velocity. So this is about making it fun, gamify it, and having an end date in mind. So the first person to post, let's call it 50 times, or reach 50 sales, whatever metric you're looking at, I highly recommend the number of posts. It's just easier to gamify, especially in the beginning. They win. So now they're incentivized to post a high volume of posts and post it quickly. Again, gamifying and makes it fun. Fourth layer here is the daily/raffle. So this is about retention. This is about making it so even the little guys can win, keeps that middle class of creators engaged who maybe they're not generating a ton of GMV, so they're not really benefiting from the commission structure so much, but they still want to participate. They want their shot at it. And this is going to be more about like the daily challenges that you can do. Every day, for instance, maybe you're giving away a $100 Amazon gift card, incentivizing them in that way. You can also do it so, hey, whoever posts throughout this launch period, your names will be entered into a raffle and we'll draw a winner on a daily basis. Again, makes it fun, incentivizes them in a way that is tied to the success and what you ultimately need from them. So we have our 4 layers here, and it's important that even if you're starting out, test your hand at all of them. Find what works for your own creators, your own creator community, and A and B test it. If you have one launch, try a particular format, try another format the other way where maybe you have the layers weighted a little bit differently. This is a very forgiving channel in that way where so long as you're incentivizing them in a specific manner, you do have some room for movement depending on if you want to have more raffles, because you're starting to find that that is working better for you than necessarily having a bigger pot that's for the top earners if you don't have them identified yet. Parker, anything that you want to add to that?
Nothing to add, but Ryan had a good question that I know we're doing Q&A at the end, but it's kind of related directly to this slide. And I know this can vary, but he's asking like, what should like brands expect for a compensation layer for like a range for each kind of step here? I know this varies from brand to brand, and the more aggressive sometimes the better, but do you have like a range you could provide them of like what's working to compensate creators?
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe this is actually going to be on one of the next slides that we have here. But really, a good rule of thumb is going to be, you're going to want maybe call it 10% of your budget for this top GMV leaderboard here, you're going to really want to focus the most amount of budget that you have, especially if you don't have them actually identified. Because here's the thing, like the top 3 to 5 earners is going to be based off of the creators that you have in your pool. If you have, for instance, creators for your store that you're on average generating like 10,000 GMV a month, that's going to look a little bit different than if you're generating $100,000 a month in the beginning. And I'll tie this in with the next question. With the launch, what does this refer to? Whether you're launching a blitz, whenever you're launching a product, things of that nature. If you're a cold start brand on TikTok Shop or you're trying to get that traction, what you're going to want to do is really prioritize the middle layers here. So driving consistency and driving velocity. So you have the volume of posts to feed your GMV campaign. So if you have, let's say, $5,000 that you're going to be using, you're probably going to want to break that up. So maybe 1,000 to 1,500 goes to your top. You're going to be spending approximately, like, call it $3,000 in these middle layers, and then the daily raffle is going to be your remaining amount. It is going to depend on your budget and the volume that you're looking to achieve, as well as the number of creators that you're able to tap into.
Yeah, awesome.
Perfect. And sorry, every time I look over here, it's because this is where my screen showing the presentation is, and I have to click back to it. So, rules of engagement. This is really, really important. Something that we have certainly found within our own creator community, as well as working with creators outside of our creator community, is we need to have the commitment from them. Again, we're moving from this gig mindset into the fleet mindset. We want them to be invested. And Parker, I think you've got a little bit of static coming through. Thank you, my friend. We need to have the explicit opt-in yes. The why behind this is, even if you're not issuing them contracts, it creates sort of like a bit of legal clarity and psychological buy-in. They've opted in, so in their mind, they're now invested and they have to follow through with what they've said they're going to do. Very, very important there. Don't let it be willy-nilly. Get that verbal yes, then they qualify for the creator incentives. Defining the source of truth is equally as important. You need to explicitly state how you're going to be measuring performance. So for instance, if it is about GMV and the certain level of GMV that they're hitting, explain to them how you're going to be measuring that. What you don't want to do after the fact when it comes to awarding prizes is be in a fight with a creator saying, hey, I thought I was going to get it because look at what I've generated, and they're looking at a different set of numbers. You want the creators to be loyal and you want to retain them. So very important that this is stated in the beginning, so that way you're not in a fight with them later. Parker, again, jump in. Anything that you'd like to add?
You're cruising. You're good. There's a couple slides later on that I have some stuff to add, but keep going.
Absolutely. Perfect. So this should come as a surprise to no one, but it is worth repeating time and time again. You want to protect your brand equity. You want to have quality. Now, you're going to say, well, Brywin, that kind of goes against things that you have said in the past about the channel and the content that comes from it isn't going to look polished and perfect. And when I say quality, I'm not talking polished and perfect, but I'm talking about the type of content that is going to engage consumers. Still looks real and authentic, but visually you can tell what's going on. So especially with these contests that you run, let the creators know the minimum expectations and what they're going to need to do from a content perspective in order to actually participate. So the 3 golden rules to prevent the spam during volume pushes. We've all seen the content where it's a creator holding it saying, look at my free sample, go buy it, it's on sale. That's not great. I don't want to reward them for that. Neither should you. So product visibility, you want to be able to see it. You want to be able to understand what it does. So super important on that front. I would also just recommend double check and let them know if it is a product with a label that needs to be read. Make sure that when they hold it to the camera, it's actually reading the right way, just so that way there's no confusion there. Tech basics, very helpful. Most good creators will know this. Let them know, hey, clear audio, don't have background noises, natural light. make sure that people can actually see and it's not a dark basement room. The aesthetic, clean, simple, and then just make sure that if there's any brand pieces that they should know, how to present, how to say your brand name, etc., that is also explicitly stated. So Shelby, I'll just touch on one of your questions here. If someone posts low quality content, do they still qualify for incentives? So ultimately, you are in charge of your incentive program so long as you're explicitly stating the rules for being able to participate. So for instance, if you have the volume of posts, you want to make sure that you're probably not super, super tight there, but you set them up for success. And you can actually also reward them for high quality content. We are running contests with some of our clients right now where the brand is very particular. So they actually have an additional little prize pool that they're doing that is for the most on-brand posts created. They're doing a special bit of incentive for those creators. So if you just connect it to an incentive, you really are going to be able to control the, say, quality of output that comes through.
And then where are you putting these rules? I know we're putting some of these in like the onboarding stage for our communities, and it's obviously mainly around the communities. This is just due to Rob's question: is where exactly are you and the team enforcing or reminding the creators of these rules?
Oh, great question. So we house everything within a Notion doc specific to each of our clients, where we outline all contests, all rules, the prizes up for grabs, all of that good stuff. And we're continuously reminding our creator community. We use WhatsApp. Some of you probably use Discord. Wherever you're speaking to creators, make sure that they have access to the home base where the information is stored, and then remind them of it in a like hype up, excited way. Hey, don't forget to post this. Don't forget about this piece of the contest. And then remind your VIPs about like the GMV component of it, that like, hey, you're a high earner for our last campaign. Make sure you participate in this one because this is what's up for grabs. So just wherever you communicate with them, just double down on it.
Awesome. And guys, just a reminder, we'll pick some of these questions while we're going through if they correlate directly to the slides, but if not, we'll be going back through the Q&A and giving everybody a chance to answer questions.
Perfect. So really the life cycle of this, you're going to do the setup. This is where you're just planning, making sure from a P&L perspective that the incentive that you're actually looking to put in place makes sense, that it fits in with the budget, as well as just that it fits in with your launch window when you want people to post. Make sure that's explicitly clear. Organization is key, planning is key, because that's going to make the execution a whole heck of a lot smoother. I can promise you that. The opt-in, post the rules, get the yes. Again, we talked about this, get the actual opt-in yes from the creators. And then that way you're also going to be able to plan as far as like how many people have committed to certain pieces of it. The pulse. So this is a part of the daily operations. Make sure that you're talking to your creators. Let them know, hey, this is who's winning right now for this contest. These are the incentives that's up for grabs. Like, hey, this is how you can, make as much content as possible. This is how you can make as many different varieties as possible. Just always have that communication with them because they're excited. This is a contest. They want to win. They want to know how they're doing in comparison with their peers in a uplifting way. Please don't pit creators against each other. It's not going to help you in that regard. And then the payout after the contest, very quickly collect the PayPal information from them. That is our recommended way of going about it. But however you pay creators, you can go with that route as well. Audit your winners, verify, collect the proof, and then pay them out quickly. Also recommend during the planning phase and when you're setting the rules is make sure that they understand when the payout period will be. If it's 7 days, if it's 14 days, you don't want to get into that after the fact. If a creator thinks, oh, I won, pay me now, but you're not going to actually pay it for another 14 days. You just want to have clarity on that. Perfect. So this is, I'll just touch on this very quickly, the commerce layer. So this is what we call our multiplier. So there's a couple of retail tactics that actually like fit in with your creator incentives and go hand in hand. So someone earlier in the chat mentioned like, hey, what's a launch? Does it always have to be a big moment? You can also apply this logic to your flash sales. So if you're having, a timed event where you're scheduling, flash sales, you want to get some things happening, you're able to connect that to your creator incentives and vice versa. If you have a creator incentive window through, for instance, the drop of a product, and you also want to just sweeten the pot a little bit, having a flash sale is a great way to go about that. Because again, you're selling to the creators and they want to know that it's going to be easier for them to generate sales during a specific period. And that comes from flash sales, as well as the use of exclusive creator coupons. And that is really just, again, going to make it easier for them to understand that they are going to make sales, get commission at the same time that they're earning all of these additional little bonuses or eligible to win these additional little bonuses. The other thing here is just like the timing really helps to align these pushes with natural traffic moments. So like paydays, for instance, if there's holidays, weekends. So, I mean, the easiest example of this of all time is going to be like promotional events where everyone's shopping. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, for instance. You're going to want to have probably your biggest incentive pot and plan of the year is going to be tied to that. So just something for everyone to think about. Yes, we do recommend Reacher. For those of you not seeing the comments, someone is asking about Karuva. So this is what we were talking about here, specifically for the 5K model. Now, again, as I said previously, your sort of dispersion here is going to vary with where you are at in your life cycle. So if you don't have a ton of people generating GMV, the 50% of your pot going to that top layer isn't going to make as much sense. But once you start having creators that are actually generating that large amount of GMV, then you're able to sort of move things over. So again, this is going to vary depending on where you're at, but you can see here that your leaderboard, in this case for the 5K model, this is typically what we would recommend for our clients that are, say in their second to third month post their blitz. Probably going to budget about 50% for volume completion. This is going to be, approximately 30%. And then for the fast mover and daily prizes, we've given them each 10%. This is something that, again, highly recommend testing, trying out different things. If you notice that creators aren't interested in the daily prizes, then shift that budget into one of the other realms here. Or if you see, for instance, that you have a lot of top sellers, probably have like 3 to 5 creators generating a ton of GMV. If you actually have 20 that are generating over 50,000 or even like 10,000 each, then potentially you're going to want to have a higher amount in your leaderboard.
Hey Brian, there's a question that Rob asked that I think is good to maybe for this slide, is that there's campaigns and launches, or what we obviously call in SEC is like blitz moments, and then there's like kind of like evergreen TikTok shop strategy. Are you and the team kind of diversifying the incentive based off if it's evergreen or versus like blitz or launches, and which ones go hand in hand? So for evergreen moments, is there a certain incentive program that helps benefit that to incentivize creators to just continue to post rather than it all just being these big batches of content for moments?
Great question. So for blitzes, you're going to want to heavily incentivize right at the beginning, which is why we're going to have a separate creator incentive for that blitz moment. For evergreen, highly recommend that you are budgeting between 2,500 and, I mean, we have some clients spending, 5 figures on creator incentives, just evergreen every single month. But highly recommend having 2,500 to 5,000 every month that you're able to run like a month-long contest. So that way you can make it easy for yourself where, at the start of the month, you set the rules. Hey, this is what's going to happen. You're then in your outreach able to talk about those contests for the entire month. End of the month, you pick your winners, and that's going to get you obviously the volume and quantity, all of that good stuff, and the ideally quality of content as well throughout the entire month. The reason we talk about the blitz launches or product launches and making these moments and having a separate creator incentive budget tied to that is specifically because you're probably going to have a timeline on that. So if we think about getting a certain amount of content within a certain window, if you're doing I know Valentine's has passed, but if you're doing an Easter sale, for instance, and maybe you're a kid's product, or maybe it's just a spring themed product, and you really need to have a go big or go home moment, you're going to want to have a separate incentive budget connected to that.
Yeah, so I think just like not spending the entire incentive moment just for, or the incentive budget for launches or moments, but reserve some of that for those kind of in between stages, I guess, of the moments of your creative calendar. And this is the easiest lever to pull to incentivize creators to continue to post for Evergreen, is just those weeks in between of the launches. Hey, keep pushing volume, keep pushing the leaderboard, rather than spending the entire budget on moments or blitzes. That's where then you'll have this big peak of creative and then a complete slowdown.
Exactly. And I mean, keep in mind too, you're gonna be incentivizing creators in other ways. But this is to get them going. This is to start the engine, keep them engaged, keep them retained. You are going to have the option for instance, if you're not doing anything big over the course of a quarter, I highly recommend you have some moment created. You're also able to look at your commission structure for your top tier people and incentivize them in other ways. So the daily ops rhythm, we touched on this very briefly, but for your team, or if you're doing this yourself, I'm sorry, you may hear some background noise there. I just heard my daughter slam her door. Morning, you're going to update the leaderboard based on overnight sales, confirm the qualifying posts for volume tracking. Midday, you're going to start posting those hype reminders. There's only 4 hours left to win. Like, guys, get your posts up, make it exciting. And then evening, you can announce your daily winners again for those raffles, or just again update that leaderboard, let people know where they stand, ask them if they have any questions on how to succeed, all of that good stuff. And Parker, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to mute myself. My daughter, I'm so sorry, guys, who just came into my office. So Parker, I will operate the
Yeah, the beauty of working from home. So yeah, this is the kind of like the daily ops checklist. The morning, so update the leaderboards based on overnight sales. This is where just communication. I think when we've seen with our creator networks, the key to continued relationship is just clear communication, right? So if creators, we touched on it earlier, like payout windows, or just, hey, these are the leaderboard announcements every morning. That communication consistently with our team is always consistent. Whenever it does slow down, or creators then go into okay, well, when are these payouts coming? When are these? What time frame should I expect? That's when the biggest kind of fires, I guess, start. And what we do internally with our creators is we have a community manager per pod and per brand. So every brand has a community manager that has this kind of daily rhythm of like a morning updating leaderboard, confirming the quality, kind of approving samples requests throughout the day, and every day they're confirming with the team, hey, these samples are approved. So this is whether you're an agency or a brand, having somebody that key responsibility is, or a big part of their responsibility is managing this community, really helps benefit, because then the creators know that the communication is happening. They're getting these midday hype reminders of like only 4 hours left. So if you're having a blitz moment, that's one of the biggest things, is reminding them, setting it earlier in the monthly calendar, then building hype as this comes in. Hey guys, we're only 4 days away from this blitz moment. That will also help. And then announcement of daily winners publicly in the evening. So this is a checklist that our community managers are consistently going through and communicating to the creators, as well then communicating back to the team. And this goes to a previous slide that Brian had of, I'm just going back to it, the kind of the pulse and the payout timing. This directly relates to that with not having a community manager. If you go quiet and they're just left to their own expectations, this is when you can have creators DMing and they'll start chasing you, and that's where fires can start. So until Brian's back, I'm gonna go through some questions. Yes, so we use WhatsApp for our creator communities. So we do the outreach programs that I highlighted above in the chat. So because of updates, you can't just you can't directly reach out to them. So what we're doing is open collab to inviting them into our creator community. Then they get this Notion board and applying, and we have these early creators that are up and coming. And then we also have our VIP, which are proven track records, and both can get separate offers with this creator incentive, right? So if you join our VIP community, you're getting these kind of really aggressive offers, where then up and comers, you're getting coaching on like creative quality and everything like that. And that's where these kind of rules for the creator communities are applied, is when they're coming into the community. But we like to use WhatsApp. I know there's different variations of groups. A lot of people use either Discord. We found WhatsApp really effective. It's more personal. We can send everything has a pros and cons, but it's personal. They're checking it. Where Discord, we found a lot of creators just are almost ignoring it to a T, and so that's why we've stuck with this. The WhatsApp method. So the payout SOP and managing risk. So confirm winners, check the GMV posts. Again, the source of truth. This is all coming from that community manager. So they're confirming and verifying it. And then the store proof. So save the screenshots and report link, and use the standard payment rails to then send out the payment to creators in that time management. So Brian touched on it earlier, either like a 7 to 10 days or 14 days, whatever that communication is clear, then honor that through this community manager of finding the proof, confirming the winners, storing the proof, and then paying it through like a secure kind of pay period or something like that. So our SEC rule is like we never pay.
Sorry, she had a nightmare.
No worries. It was actually cute in the chat. Everybody was like, we can relate. So all good. I'll throw it back to you. I kind of went through the confirming winners, storing proof, and the pay period, but if you can go into the risk control section, it would be great.
Perfect. So I'm going to skip past this because I'm looking at the time and I want to make sure that we get to the second part of this presentation, which is talking about how to use that content elsewhere, how to incentivize creators to let you use that content elsewhere. So we already sort of covered this in the previous sections, but there's just a couple of watch outs here. So just making sure like that last day dump doesn't happen. Again, over communicate, make sure you talk about the daily prizes, and just make sure that you're incentivizing in a way that is going to get you what you want ultimately based off your goals. So this is, again, the exciting part. You're going to see me getting animated. You're going to tell that I love my job when we talk about this. So the Unified Playbook, it is about turning that converting TikTok shop content into D2C wins. So yes, you're going to have GMV on platform, but here's some things that I think everyone is aware of. You're out the cost of the sample. Maybe the content isn't going to necessarily convert there. You're doing a high amount of volume. You really want to leverage that content every way that you can. And so this is what we talk about every single day when we talk about unified commerce. How do we bridge the gap between TikTok Shop and the rest of the D2C efforts? How do we repurpose that content and make sure that we have this actual flywheel effect and it's actually happening? So couple of things that we're going to cover on this is, first and foremost, eliminating that creative bottleneck that always seems to happen in D2C accounts. When you have TikTok Shop running and the volume of content that you need to be running on TikTok Shop that needs to be produced from creators in order to feed that algorithm, you will never be on a short supply of content that you can use elsewhere. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Executing the two-phase workflow. So this is going to cover two things: getting usage rights as well as whitelisting, which unlocks just a level of scale that is really incredibly important and super impactful, and protecting the P&L. End of the day, you don't want to go into the negative to use this type of content. So a couple of things with the creative bottleneck, and again, I'm going to fly through these early slides and get to the meat and potatoes of it. We know making content, if you've done photo shoots, if you've hired people to make content for you, it can get very, very expensive. Also, we know, especially post TikTok Shop, the content that really performs right now, especially video content, is not super polished. It is not commercial type content. It is real, it's authentic. It is the UGC that comes from TikTok. So you're going to be saving on the cost there. Again, performance. The posts that perform best right now on Meta are the ones that come from real people. And speed. This content, the engine that you've started on TikTok is fast. And if you're sending out the amount of samples that, for instance, like we recommend being, between 200 and 300 on average per, product, if you're a single product, or, for a new launch, you might want to do between, 200 and 500 samples a month. You're going to be getting a ton of content. The speed at which that's going to come is going to be fast, and you're going to want to throw it into your Meta Ads account, Google Ads, right away. So we're going to talk more about that. And Parker, jump in at any time. I just want to make sure that we get to a solid question and answer period at the end of this.
Yeah, no, all good. I'll reserve kind of where I'm jumping in until the Q&A so you can get through the important slides.
Perfect. So with Meta, and anyone in the chat that is familiar, obviously, with the Andromeda update, the Meta algorithm is really rewarding two things right now: volume and variety, the two V's. And this is where having TikTok Shop comes I almost said in clutch, it's very beneficial because it's going to give you both of those things. So with Meta right now, it's about the shots on goal. The UGC is not going to look perfect. It's not going to look like it was shot in a studio, and you don't want it to. We say this is a feature, not a bug. What this looks like in the funnel is, and it has the example here of 100 raw TikTok videos. Realistically, this is going to be based on the volume of content that you have coming from TikTok, but you're going to feed that into the algorithm, run that through a CBO style campaign. So that way you're not wasting spend. The algorithm is going to only spend on videos it thinks is going to convert, and that's going to drive into your revenue drivers. Now, one thing that I like mentioning at this point in time is, if we use the example of 100 TikTok videos going into your ad account on a weekly basis, I would fully expect only 1 to maybe 4 videos are going to get spend on Meta. That is fine. That is an absolute win, because then you're going to be able to scale those. Don't see it as a loss in the traditional Meta sense where you upload 100 ads and only 1 or 2 get spend. You're going to have this volume coming in on a weekly basis, finding those winners and scaling them. I would rather spend that money on 1 to 2 pieces of content that work and get 90% of my budget than equally split spend across those 100 videos and get subpar results. So where the content goes, first, and your primary is going to be your paid ads. So, I mean, it says Meta Ads here, but you can also think, obviously, YouTube, things of that nature. And this is typically going to come in 2 formats. Your standard ads, which is going to come from usage rights, which we will get into my preferred method of getting those usage rights, or whitelisted placements. So whitelisting, we'll get into that a little bit more as well for those that aren't familiar with it. But that is just going to be the absolute rocket fuel that you pour on that fire. So that's going to be the primary use of this content. Second is going to be in your sort of conversion level, landing pages on your website. If you have usage rights, you can use that content anywhere. So on your PDP, having that social proof and showing the product in action and showing people content that is already resonating with them on other platforms is going to get you to that higher conversion. So that is something that you'll see a lot of brands doing. And if you're not doing it, highly recommend. You can either build natively on your shop, use a tool like Replo, things of that nature. It's going to get you where you want to go faster. The third is retention. Email and SMS, incredibly important. It's the closest you're ever going to be to that customer. Show them the type of content that everyone else is loving, that you know that they're going to love. It's going to make it more real. It's going to make it more authentic. And again, increase your conversion rate and the buy-in from those customers.
I think this is, I think it was James or Rob or somebody in the chat asked like about evergreen. This is the importance of kind of incentivizing that evergreen content, because if you're just incentivizing blitz moments, which if you followed our content, blitz should be exclusive offers on TikTok Shop. That's content that is hard to move off the platform. So incentivizing this evergreen where they're just promoting your products in an evergreen sense, those are going to be the pieces of content that you can move in unified. That way it'll actually convert well, rather than talking about an offer that they can only get on TikTok Shop. So if you're spending on Meta, and TikTok, and usually a lot of brands are spending their majority budget on Meta, that evergreen incentive is the biggest lever to pull to fuel this growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent callback. So call this the two-phase workflow. The tool and platform that we use to do all of what I'm about to talk you through right now is Refunnel. Amazing service, amazing team. If you're not using Refunnel, highly recommend checking it out. It has social listening, which is going to obviously pull in all of that content that is coming from TikTok Shop, coming from your other platforms. It also has one-click usage rights requesting. So immediately once that content comes in, you're going to want to request usage rights because this is the speed factor. As soon as that content comes in, immediately request usage rights to all of it. It is not the time to be choosy unless you see that a piece of content is, mentions you, but it's actually about a competitor, or is so off the base that it's like, that's horrific. It's actually someone complaining about us, whatever the case might be. Then you can be choosy. But what you really want to do is just get that volume. Not every creator is going to grant usage rights right away. Typically, I'll see about 50% right out the gate say, yes, absolutely, you can use my content. And this is typically going to come through in approximately like 1 to 3 days from the time of requesting. So very important, once you have Refunnel and you're using it, have your team check on a daily basis once you have that content flowing in TikTok Shop so that they can request those usage rights. These usage rights, you'll be able to see it in Refunnel as well. It'll show as like a green little call to action button saying that you have it available to you. You can immediately download that and use that across your other channels. So that is I'll say the lowest hanging fruit and something that every brand should be doing. Again, it's very easy, one click. The second phase is whitelisting. Whitelisting is something that, and sorry, I think Parker jumped off. So we'll get him back here and we'll get him monitoring the chat. I see a couple of questions coming through. Whitelisting is what is going to really allow you to scale. So whitelisting is essentially you're going to be running those ads through a creator's profile on Meta, for instance. So this is going to look a lot more real, a lot more authentic than if it was coming from the brand itself. And we know from TikTok Shop, people like buying from other people. So this is going to really boost the trust. You're going to have higher click-through rates. You're going to have higher conversion rates. You're going to have a higher return. So this is also done through Refunnel where they have one-click whitelisting. You set up a landing page that is completely, I think it takes like honestly 2 minutes. So it's completely in platform. Anyone can do it. And I'll get into the details there of what that looks like. But what this is going to allow you to do is really incentivize those creators that are performing on TikTok Shop to allow you to use that content on Meta. Some creators, especially ones that are newer, not really generating GMV, are probably going to grant you usage rights. They may not know to ask for additional compensation, but if it's a creator that is generating, $5,000, $10,000, etc., on TikTok Shop, they're not going to want you to use that content elsewhere because they're going to see it as potentially missing out on sales because they're happening off platform. So let's get into how to incentivize them there. And I'm going to skip through a little bit here just to make sure that you guys get the meat and potatoes of it. So we already talked through this a little bit, and sorry, I jumped ahead in my what I was covering without sharing it on my screen. But again, when it comes to selecting who do you want to whitelist, first thing I look at is, well, who's performing on TikTok Shop? Are they driving GMV? Outside of that, do they have consistent output? Are there creators that are generating high quality assets regularly? Those are people that I'm going to want to engage. And are they safe? This is in quotations, but are they safe creators, meaning that there's low compliance risk? If you have creators that are a sort of loose cannon where you never know if they're going to post something that is on brand, if they cuss, things of that nature, you're going to want to be a little bit more choosy there. So on brand, consistent output, high GMV, that is going to be your trifecta. So the incentivization model that we recommend You have a couple of different options through Refunnel. Our preferred and the one that we would recommend to everyone is actually a percentage of ad spend. So we typically go with 5%, but this is obviously going to be based off your P&L and your appetite for what you want to put in front of creators compared to what you can afford to pay. Percentage of ad spend, reason we do this instead of a flat fee. Flat fees are going to give that one-off dopamine hit for creators, but it's not really going to incentivize long-term use. We want to make sure that as we scale their creative, as they scale themselves, we are able to incentivize them long-term. So we want to make sure that that aligns. The reason why it's percentage of ad spend instead of, typical model of percentage of revenue is it is connected directly into Meta. It is connected into the back end, and hopefully nobody on this call trusts Meta in platform for what it is saying the revenue is. It's not going to be 100% accurate. We know that. So we want to focus on a metric that we control, and we control the spend. So by saying 5% of ad spend, we can tell the creator, we can give them examples. Hey, if we spend $5,000, this is what that can look like for you. If we spend $10,000, this is what this can look like for you. So it gives it a real tangible win for them, but it's also connected to our ability to scale their content. We don't want to pay for content that isn't working. So 5% of spend is going to give you the levers that you need to pull and that level of control that you're going to need to see. So we already have here, we talked about it a little bit, the importance of opt-in previously for the creator incentives. Opt-in is important here as well. So previously, bottleneck was going to be, for whitelisting, emailing creators, going back and forth, trying to do what I affectionately call the handshake on the back end of Meta. I have spent, a half hour on a call with creators in the past trying to get whitelisted access. With Refunnel, again, it's all handled through their system. It's one click. It is very easy. The solution that they've presented is you can very quickly, in 2 minutes or less, create a landing page that covers all of the details of your program. And then you're able to just send them a link and say, hey, sign up for this. And you can monetize the content you've already made off platform, and you can give them the details. So it is very straightforward, very quick, very easy. If you're doing this yourself, you'll be able to just drop the link to the creators. If you have a community manager like we do, just give the information to them and they can relay the details. I do have the practical playbook here. 10 out of 10 if you screenshot this image so you have it for later, but very, very quick, very easy. Align. So if you have an internal team or you have someone different managing your D2C than your TikTok shop, this checkbox is for you. Make sure those two team members are speaking to one another, that they know, hey, what product are you pushing on TikTok shop? What creators are working, so that way they know who to go to first for what type of content they want to grab from Refunnel. Number 2, request. Make sure those usage rights are being requested daily. You're going to just have more at bats that way. Review. So always, again, you're not being super choosy when you're requesting in Refunnel. Once you have the usage rights, download them and then go through with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that you're actually happy with the bulk of the content. Your goal is not perfection, but it is quality and quantity. Give them to your media buyer. They should be getting between 50 and 200 videos a week based off of the scale and velocity that we've talked about previously, and then optimize. Identify the top performers from that whitelisted content. Make sure that you're inviting top performers into your whitelisting campaign and scale and grow from there. Parker, good to see you, my friend. Welcome back.
Just getting all the curveballs thrown at us. Sorry, guys, computer shut down.
Yeah. So a couple of things here. The risk trap, I talked about this a little bit. I'm just going to touch on it again. Don't let perfectionism kill volume. It can be a fantastic piece of content that will convert, but if you're being entirely too nitpicky, so for instance, if their hair doesn't look perfect, if the creator, isn't 100% put together, but they actually portray the product in a really positive light, and it's like, wow, this is a real and authentic experience, prioritize that content. It's going to feel real. It's going to feel native. And again, the way we set up these campaigns, if the algorithm doesn't think it's going to convert, it's not going to get any spend. So just make sure that you're not standing in your own way looking for perfect.
Yeah, I think the risk trap is actually a really good flag. Like, there's a really good podcast. Sean Frank from Ridge Wallets was on with Open Residency, and he talked about how he scaled kind of Ridge Wallets, and it was basically that he did not care about perfection. He did not care about if the creator matched their exact kind of ICP, is if they gave a good review, and he didn't even give creators like briefs. It was just use the product, talk nicely about it, post it, and I'll spend on it. Like it then attract a huge amount of people, all different like ICPs and profiles and avatars. So I think people come into TikTok Shop with this is the perfect video that I want to collect, and then they start receiving these really organic looking videos. That is beneficial. And also just run it and test it and let the data tell you if it works or not.
100%. And there's some really good questions in here. And again, guys, sorry, my daughter having her nightmare and interrupting the middle of this. We kind of had to breeze through a couple of slides. So we're not going to have as much time for questions and answers, but we have been answering a lot of them throughout. So there are a couple here that I think are going to be broadly applicable that we'll for sure get to, and then we'll go from there. So a couple of things here. We're getting questions from Rob about, do we let our creators know that like, hey, we'll be requesting usage rights? So typically what we will do is we will go through request usage rights to everybody. If there's any content that we're like, we really want this and the creator hasn't approved it, we will then message them directly. So it's more targeted than a general, hey, we're going to be sending out usage rights requests today. Just so that way we're able to have that one-on-one conversation, speak to them and do negotiations with them and not the entire group. If the creators find out that, we're offering a particular creator a certain flat fee because we really want that content, they're all going to want that. So we're very selective in that way. With the whitelisting campaigns, however, absolutely, you can give that link to your entire group. You can also have a separate whitelisting landing page through Refunnel for your VIPs that offers them a higher percentage of ad spend if that's something that you're interested in. So that way you also have some tiering happening there. When doing the percentage of ad spend through Refunnel, again, number one, top tier, highly recommend them. Yes, you can have spend caps in place. So for instance, if this is something that you are just testing out, you can absolutely say, hey, 5% of ad spend, but capped at $2,000, $5,000 per creator. If you want to have some tight controls and you want to get some data first before you necessarily like fully dump a massive amount of budget in this. However, I will just say, and I have said this stat multiple times and I'll continue to say it, and with our clients in Unified, what we typically see is at least 90 to 95% of their spend on Meta is going to TikTok Shop content, whether that is usage rights or whitelisted. So this is something that you are going to want to make a big priority for you and your media buying team strategy. So yeah, you can absolutely put caps in. You can absolutely move them one way or another later on as well.
There's a question here from Rob about media buying strategy, and I can just briefly touch on that. Rob, it definitely depends on your spend, right? Yeah, 50 to 200. I mean, we even have brands getting like 10,000 videos a month that we can handpick from. So it definitely depends on spend, but a general kind of media buying thesis on Meta that we do is everything's through Advantage Plus now, and we use a lot of flex ads. So flex ads you can have, so if you're having TikTok Shop promote product A and you're collecting 50 to 200 videos, well, then you can have flex ads that are organized per product or per offering or even per like demographic if you want. So flex ad A in Advantage Plus is 10 to 15 videos for this product and this offering, and going to this landing page, and then flex. That way you don't have 200 separate ads in your Advantage Plus, and you're having then 10 to 15 different flex ads with 10 to 15 different ads in each flex ad, and you're just giving that algorithm full capability of like mixing and matching. And that's this kind of customized advertising strategy for the consumer, right? You're doing 10 to 15 different videos that you're collecting from TikTok, and then 5 to 10 different versions of copy and headlines, and then giving the AI the ability to mix and match these and everything through Advantage Plus. And then we use the 4PI analysis to optimize. But that's like a very general theme, but obviously, yeah, if you have that much creative, it should go with your budget and you don't want to spread it too thin. So it's a bit of a balance here. Oh, you're muted, Brian.
The cuss I said was biscuits, by the way, if anybody can read lips. Awesome. I think that actually takes us to the end of the questions. If there was any others that people wanted to sneak in very quickly here in the final minutes, absolutely feel free to do so. Again, I know we flew through some elements of this very quickly, but we really wanted to make sure that you guys got the most bang for your buck, for lack of a better phrase. And these two things are highly connected. Incentivizing creators on and off platform needs to be part of your entire strategy. It can't be just TikTok over here and D2C over here.
Yes, the recording will be shared.
And how to increase volume and encourage creators to stay active in the community and mainly join. Yeah, again, it goes back to the previous first half of this presentation about making sure that you have incentives in place that not only reward, you know, GMV and the volume and the velocity, but also just like the daily participation. If I'm a creator that I'm just starting out, I'm not really generating a heck of a lot of GMV, I still need to be encouraged to post multiple times a month. I still want to be encouraged to remain like engaged in the creator community. The other thing that I highly recommend to keep them active, not just posting, but also engaging with other creators, is have workshops, do coaching, invest back in creators outside of just the monetary principles. So give them the tools that they need to succeed, give them the playbooks, say, hey, with this particular video, love what you did here. Try doing this in the beginning because that's what's working for other creators. Those coaching opportunities for small and mid-level creators is something that they very, very much value. So great question on that. And on that note, thank you, everyone. Again, apologies for the toddler interruption. Glad to see in the comments that other people have been there. I'll mildly die of embarrassment after the fact here, but thank you so much, guys. Great questions. Hope this was of value to you, and stay tuned. Watch out for your emails for the next topic that we will cover.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.